love our song.
I love our song too.
No, it's just the best. Welcome everyone to the Isn't It Romantic Book Club. We're going to be talking today about Grave as All Get Out. Gosh, I always have a hard time holding these things, right? Grave as All Get Out. And Tanya will be here in a minute. I want to just thank everybody who's watching for tuning in today. Let us know where you're from. We always love hearing like where y'all watching from. Also too, if you do leave comments on our end, it sometimes doesn't say your name. So if we say Facebook user, that's what we're seeing. Even though like on Facebook, it has your name. We're on StreamYard, which sometimes doesn't give us your name. So if we say Facebook user, that's why. All right. So first off, I got to tell you where we're beaming in from. We're beaming into Sharon's page, Diana's page, Jennie's page turners, my page, into the Isn't a Romantic Book Club page. We're on Instagram, YouTube. We're like all over the place. So
Team Source Books.
And Team Source Books. Yes, exactly. We're like everywhere today. So I'm Abbie Roads. I write dark romantic thrillers. I tell people think like an episode of Criminal Minds meets a love story with a twist. And here's a little stack of my books. There's Dangerous Dreams and Broken Dreams and Shattered Dreams, which the e-copy is on sale for $2.99 if you want to grab it. And then Defying Evil, which is my favorite cover of all time. And then Capturing Fate. And that's me.
I love your covers, Abbie. I love the fact that you love them.
Well, I made Defying Evil and Capturing Fate. So maybe I'm a little biased too.
I love them. They're great. My name is Sharon Wray. I write romance and romantic suspense. Think like Sexy Green Berets meet like Dan Brown mysteries. Bunch of books. This one though is free today on the Stuff Your e-reader book. So it's normally $5.99. It's on sale for free. I'll drop a link in the chat. And this one.
Wow, we are just having all sorts of technical difficulties today.
I know. Anyway, this book is going to be gone in I think less than 2 weeks. So my story, Room with a Groom, is in here. It's very cute. Anyway, the other thing I want to remind you all, there's a lot going on in the author world right now, including our Fall Into a Book giveaway is coming up. Our day for founding authors is September 19th. The 20th is the big day with over 350 authors. We really, really hope you'll join us. We've got a lot of authors just itching to give books and swag and all sorts of great giveaways away to y'all.
Yeah, and you just have to be in the Isn't It Romantic Book Club group because that's where the event happens, is inside the group. Yeah, on Facebook.
Yeah, not the page, the group.
Not the page, the group.
Yes. No. Okay, Jennie?
Yeah. Well, Diana will be back with us shortly, I'm sure. She is on vacation and streaming in from vacation. So it's lovely that she's working so hard to be part of the fun today. So she'll be back in just a minute. But I'm Jennie Marts. I write small town stories with humor and heart and occasionally a dead body. So I write a lot of hot cowboys. Here's some. Oh, this one's my favorite. I just love this guy.
I love him so much.
I think the pink one's pretty too, though.
Yeah, I think the pink one's pretty too. Wait till you see my new cover of the Lassiter Ranch. It's got a pink sky, and
those are great. I love those covers too.
So, speaking of Lassiter Ranch, this is the book that's free right now today. Love at First Cowboy is free. Overdue for a Cowboy is next, and then Second Chance for a Cowboy is coming out in a couple of weeks. So, pretty excited for that. And I also write cozy mysteries. So I have the Page Turner series, group of women in a book club, search for clues in romance while eating really great desserts. And my beekeeping mystery series, Kill or Be Killed, is the new book that just came out this summer. So speaking of cozy mysteries, one of my favorite mystery authors is joining us today. And I get the pleasure of introducing Amazon All-Star author Tanya Kappes, which I should have verified that that's actually how you pronounce her last name. I hope I got it right. She has written more than 175 Southern cozy mysteries, all of which have graced numerous bestsellers lists, including the USA Today, Women's World Book Club pick twice. She is best known for her stories charged with Southern charm, emotion, and humor, and filled with flawed characters. Her novels have garnered reader praise and glowing critical reviews, and she lives with her husband in northern Kentucky. Now that her 4 boys have flown out of the nest, Tanya writes full-time in her camper, which we're going to talk about, and her camper mascot, Rowena. We'll talk about her too. And you can find all of her on social media at tanyakappes.com. Welcome, Tanya.
Hello. Thanks for having me, y'all. I'm so excited to be here.
Did I say your last name right? It is Kappes, right?
No, it's Kappes.
I read that on your bio that you had it all phonetically spelled out for us.
That's okay. I mean, we've only met in person, and I'm kidding.
Yeah, we know each other in person, and I still thought it was pronounced that way. Sorry.
I get all the time. Like I get Capes, Cappies. Like, and my kids, growing up, they all, got the same thing. And so sometimes I say cat piss. But, because it kind of sounds like that, which I don't know if we're allowed to say that on Facebook, but oh well. Anyway, so we did. But so it's really hard because a lot of people don't really know, but it's okay. I mean, it's my married name, and so it's their fault.
Well, what's funny? Even like common names like Rhodes, Abbie Roads, how many times I say that and people hear Rose, R-O-S-E. And I'm like, no, like a road you drive on. And they're like, what? And I'm like, roads.
Yeah, but then you have a silent consonant that you have to spell for the rest of your life.
Yes. Now, if you would have put an H behind the R, they would have gotten it right.
That's right.
Probably.
That's
probably.
Well, that's funny. People always call me Penny. So I will answer the phone, hello, this is Jennie Marts. And they'll be like, oh, hi, Penny. Where Penny comes from, but I call Jenny all the time.
Jenny, my husband keeps calling you Jeannie, and I'm like, her name is Jenny, and he's like, Jeannie, and I'm like, no, Jenny.
It's because of the IE.
Say her name, it's Jenny. You don't never met her. Her name is Jenny, but like how you spell it, he's got it as
it's the IE throws everybody. But I'm really a Jennifer, but really only my dad and my husband, when he's annoyed at me, call me that. So. Well, Tanya, we loved your book. We had so much fun reading your book. I did not realize you have written 175 books.
I did not realize that either. I knew you read a lot, but
yes. Wow. So this was a series that is actually this is 10 books in. I applaud you guys for reading the book that's 10 books in. Even though mysteries, we say even though they are in a series, what makes them in a series are the same characters in the same small town, right? All the mysteries, which is the murders, are all wrapped up. But actually, this is a very close to my heart series, and this is the 10th. And it's called the Kenny Lowry series, which she's a small town sheriff, but my maiden name is Lowry. And you take that town in Cottonwood and you put it on top of my small hometown of Nicholasville, which is in central Kentucky. You have the town, my entire town. And so I'm not talking about a thing called Free Row, which is really where my live. They still live on Free Row. Years ago, they in the 70s when I was growing up, it was the place where they would hand out the commodity cheeses and everybody line up to get their cheese. But then they have the houses there now. So they still just call it Free Row. The town branch really is there. The funeral home is my best friend's parents' funeral home. And I mean, it's all there and it's all there. But what happened was it was originally with a publishing house. And then back in 2020, I bought all my rights back. And now I just publish them under my own publishing house now.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I did that. And that's the 10th book out. People were so excited because there was such a lag time between the 9th and 10th book because I was in the process of with lawyers and all that stuff, buying out my rights and going through that process that it took a couple of years, but now they're back and everybody's excited. And Dreamscape is who has the audio rights for them. I'd also produce my own audio rights for a lot of my books too, but Dreamscape has this series. And so we're pretty excited that they are going to continue with the next 3 books that I haven't even written yet, but they have contracts for audiobooks. So
that's cool.
Oh, nice. Well, tell them if somebody's watching and they haven't read the book yet, tell us a little bit about this book.
Okay, so this book is set. It's set in the small town of Cottonwood, and she's a sheriff. And actually, the whole series at the beginning of the series is that in Kentucky, it is a 4-year elected term to be the sheriff. And so she was elected sheriff back in the first book. And she thought she was such a really amazing, awesome sheriff because there was no would-be crime. There was no crimes happening for the first 3 years of her her elected years. And so, and when there was 2 crimes that happened at once, all the town people went crazy, and especially because she was a woman sheriff, and they were like, oh my gosh, we should have a man protecting us, and all that kind of funny stuff. And that it would happen totally in my hometown. And so what happened is that she comes to find out that she has her papa, who is since deceased, was a sheriff in the town before her. And the backstory is that she became a sheriff because of him, and they would sit at his kitchen table, which is where she lives now in that house, and play the what if game. What if this happened? What if that happened? And so in the first book, after the 2 crimes, you fairly quickly in the book find out that there was no crime for the past 3 years because her papa, who had passed on, was now a ghost, and he was running off any would-be crime and robbers that would happen in the town to keep her safe. So this is really a paranormal, which a lot of people don't realize this is a paranormal series because I don't even say it in there. And I do have some paranormal series that are witches and things, but and this one I don't really say it. Some people are like, oh wait, with that little twist. So she has like a deputy sheriff. They don't really know the rules. Even in the 10th book, they always think that if she tells somebody, or if she's driving, she's always acting like she's talking to her dog, but really she's talking to Papa because he's yammering on next to her. And so what happened is that if someone finds out that he's talking to her, then she's afraid that he's going to go away forever. So that's why we have Finn Vincent at the beginning of the book, who came in as a Kentucky reservist, which in Kentucky, in our small towns, not everybody has a sheriff's department. We definitely don't have police departments, but we have sheriff departments, and some of them only have a sheriff and 1 deputy. And we do have to share dispatches. And so if something happens, like a crime that we need more than our 1 deputy, they will call in what's called the Kentucky reservist. And so that is someone that's a lawman that will come and help out as needed, which he did. That was Finn Vincent. And long story short, obviously now in book 10, they're engaged. And so she's been putting off this engagement for the past, couple of years in the books. And that's because she's like, I can't tell him about Papa. I can't tell him, and I don't want my Papa to go away. How can I choose between the 2 men that I love most in my life? And so that's why that subplot was so important. And the ending was like, oh my gosh, because there finally is a date, and we finally are going to get to see, do we still have Papa? Do we not have Papa? What's going to happen? But anyways, also, so this book is about, she gets a call because someone's grave has been dug up. And, that's obviously a crime, and that's kind of a little creepy and kind of a little scary. And so there is a psychic in town, which of course, my small town, we have this one psychic that does live in like the woods, and people are like, don't go there. But then y'all see their car driving down through there. I saw someone driving down the psychic lane, but anyways, and so, it's all the gossip that goes on. That's a Southern, and I'm sure that's everywhere, but we really love, us Southerners like to say, oh, honey, it has been put up on me by the Lord to tell you about. So, friend, I would say, oh, honey, the Lord would not want you to put that upon your heart by yourself. You must tell me, and we shall pray for her. And so that's kind of what the books are kind of set around, is that Southern, that she has her group of friends. But this one, she has to find out if the psychic knew something, or, if she actually had, because there were some things at the public psychic reading that made it think that she had dug up the grave, but that there was something going on. But then when a second murder happens, which is the psychic, which is not a big deal because it happens pretty early in the book. Now, oh my gosh, now we have 2 murders, and well, not murders, but a dug up grave with some clues in the grave, as well as a psychic dead who was there, which she was there with her friends for just a fun night out. But she has to, solve that. Plus this one, even though it's taken 10 books, is her second election. And the first one she barely got through. And this one, as the readers know, in the last book, the kind of the cliffhanger, which I do leave them with cliffhangers. And I don't feel bad about it, so I don't care. But anyway, and so what happens is that in the last book, her deputy has decided to run against her. And this has really turned gross because he was so great in the past few books. And so for Kenny, and so that also kind of plays out in a subplot and then the ending of the book. So that's kind of in a nutshell, and it's one of those things like I'm not, and I don't know, are your cozy mysteries, Jennie, with a traditional publisher or are you self-published?
Both. I have one that's with Crooked Lane. The Beekeepers are with Crooked Lane, and then the Page Turners are self-published.
Okay.
So I have one of each.
Yeah. And so I know readers are always like, oh, I don't know about you. I wasn't meant to be a writer. I didn't even start reading until I was in my 30s, and I'm in my 50s now, and never cared about reading, hated books. As a matter of fact, a report card that says that I do a lot of public speaking, and I have a report card that says that I would have passed English if I would have just turned in one of the 3 required book reports. And I actually bring it on stage. It's like that big yellow 70s report card. And so, it's so embarrassing, but even funnier because it just solidifies that, I wasn't supposed to be a writer. And so I don't have a formula I write to. I don't write a cozy formula. I don't know what that would be. I don't know. People say, oh, do you do Save the Cat? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I really don't. I don't know.
Literally, I have Save the Cat right here.
I've never even seen that. That's I seen it. But people say all the time, oh, how do you write? I'm like, I don't. And it's not that I try to trick the reader. If you find out I want to take you along on a story. I don't care about tricking you. I don't care if you figure it out before the ending. That's great. The only thing that I do that most, I guess, mystery writers do is just write your book backwards, right? You start the mystery and then go forward. And so it served me well, and I'm okay with that. So
how long have you been writing that you've gotten 175 books in? You must do a book a month or something.
I do have a book a month. I'm 3 books ahead. I've always been 3 books ahead. And I've done that. Even I had, so I first started publishing in 2010. And so in the golden age of self-publishing. And so we didn't even have a Kindle. My husband had an Apple or a Sony e-reader. And so he had to figure out how to format it and all those things. I had y'all know Jane Porter by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay. So my first book that I ever read was Jane Porter book. And so she helped me escape from some problems I was having. And that's part of my story. And so I became a huge fan of hers and started stalking her like we do. And so she, at the time, there was no Facebook. There was no anything like that. And she had a blog, and I would comment on the blog and I would win prizes. And so one day I got an email and she said, hey, can I get your phone number? And I'm like, okay. So she had called and she said, I'm coming to Kentucky and I would love to stay with you. I'm doing something in Kentucky, and I'm opening up the book festival there, which is a huge thing in Frankfurt. And I'm like, well, I might be a killer. And she's like, oh no, you're fine. Okay. So anyway, so she came, and we have been great friends since. But so my first book that I wrote, I thought I wrote women's fiction. And I was for sure that I was writing romance, women's fiction. It was rom-com at the time. And so my girlfriend read it and she's like, are you sure? Because they barely give each other the side eye and there's a dead body. I'm like, no, it's rom-com. It's total rom-com. And so actually that first book sold to a small press. Like, I had no idea that I had to have an editor. I had no idea that I needed I had no idea that I needed an agent, which I have had like several, and now I just kind of agent my own things. But But anyways, and so what happened was that the publishing house and I parted ways about 2 to 4 months. I can't remember the exact date before it was supposed to be published. So I called up my trusty friend, Jane Porter, and she was actually on an airplane going to her place in Hawaii. And she's like, listen, because my husband had said, why don't you self-publish this? There's this, I got this Sony e-reader, he's not a reader either, but somebody had given him like the worst gift in the world. I hope they don't like this, but anyways, it jumpstarted my career. So what happened was that, he is pretty good at technology. And so he was able to somehow formulate it and do that whole crazy thing. And he got up on he's like, see, I'm like, I cannot self-publish. They say that's bad. And he's like, who are they? And who cares? I'm like, okay. So we did do it, long story short. And Jane Porter said, I'll read it on my way to Hawaii. Send it to me. I'll give you a cover blurb, which at the time that was pretty important. Now I don't believe that those are very important at all. But, and so she gave me a cover blurb, and she also found me a person that was a graphics artist that could whip me up a cover. This is like, nobody knew how to do any of this stuff at the time. And so I had a BlackBerry, and I had gone to my son's baseball game because we uploaded it and said, okay, well, whatever happens with it. And at that time, I had already kind of built a blog following. I had really done everything Jane Porter had done. Say, oh, I'm having a new book come in if you care. I went on all these blog posts that I could. And I was going to have my own book signing at this lapidary bead shop that was local. Like I'd signed it all up, all of it done. I was doing all of it. And so we're sitting at my son's baseball game, and I'm telling my parents, this is what I'm doing. They're like, you're doing what? And I was a child therapist at the time. I was a teacher and became a child therapist, a whole nother story. But so I was showing my parents the BlackBerry, and at the time, if somebody told you they were buying your book, it was in real time. Like you could say, "Oh, I'm buying your book right now," and you would get on the dashboard of these places, and you would see my sale. You're like, "Oh, yep, there it goes." But now they don't do that. So I got a lot of people say, "Oh, I just bought your book." I'm like, "Yeah, no, you didn't." I don't see it. Anyways, so I had gotten an email that said, before the baseball game that morning, it said, my wife loved your books. Maybe we can help you sell a couple. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. And I was like, wow, somebody, bought my book, and my only person besides my mom. And trying to explain to him how you read it, on like a tablet. And I was showing my parents at the baseball game, and I kept refreshing it. And it went from like one sale to like 4,000 sales. And then it went up and up. And I was like, I looked at my husband, like, at my son's game. I'm like, you have broke the whole thing. You've done something wrong. People are thinking they're getting some really like great book. And they think we've done something wrong. So I leave and I run back home, and I'm looking at all those dashboards at the time, and you just see these sales ringing in. And I thought, what is going on? I thought about that guy, and I emailed him, and I said, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do, but you told me you could help me sell a few books, and we've sold fairly close to about 30,000. And he said, well, I see the future of what's coming. And he said, so I decided to launch a little newsletter called E-Reader News Today. And
yeah, just a little newsletter.
Yeah. It was at the time, it was.
Uh-huh.
So I was just, and he was like, and my wife, my purpose to do this job, even though I love my therapy job I was doing, was just to help somebody escape like I escaped in a book. And so I said, well, your wife is my one reader. That's all I care about. That's all I care about is the one reader. And so I said, what can I do for you? And he said, you just keep promoting me and telling readers to sign up. I mean, I was putting in the back of the books. I was telling people all over,
Wow.
And so that kind of jump-started the career. And I, all those books later, I write every day. I'm empty nest. I raised 4 boys. And they're all adults now. And I have nothing else to do. I live in 140 acres. In the middle of the hills in Kentucky, overlooking the Ohio River. And I have nothing. My husband, he actually was able to retire a few years ago and come work for our company. So he does that, and he's very handy anyways. But now we do travel at least to 1 or 2 weeks a month in our RV, which I ride in, which she's out there cleaning now because we're taking that out this week to go to
fun.
in. And so, it has been a really fun adventure. And like I said, what else would I do? I can write anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 words a day. And back in 2016, one of my self-published series, I was contacted by HarperCollins, and they said, would you be interested in selling us your series, the Southern Ghostly series? And I thought, well, do I need an agent? That's what I said. I go, do I need an agent? I go, well, we probably should, but and so I did a deal with them. It was one of the very first self-published series that they ever took. And I said, well, I don't want the traditional percentage. I want 50% of all sales. I want to be paid monthly like Amazon does. I want all cover control. I want to own all my characters. So we made the deal. They took it. I was with them and still.
Nice.
Yeah, I decided after 6 books, there wasn't much more they could do for me than I could do for myself. They did send me to all the Kiss Cons and all those things, which I loved. But I was already at that time doing my own event. I do my own event every October. It's somewhere different around the United States on a train with readers. And so that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So that's fun. But anyways, and so I just really took my career and did what I felt I needed to do and reach readers. How can I reach that reader? How can I reach the reader to escape? So I write these really campy, funny, Southern, mysteries, and I love them all. And again, so all my books are like 50 to 60,000 words. And I said that to HarperCollins. I said, this is just a 50,000 word, and they're like, okay, no problem. So my deal is, if it was good enough for HarperCollins, it's good enough for other people. So I don't I did take a deal with Crooked Lane, which I can tell you about that. They wanted me to take a pen name a few years back. And I said, you don't want me to take a pen name? Like, oh no, we do, because we want your name at the top of the list so we can shelve you up there. And so they let me pick the name, which I picked Mamie Bell, which was my grandmother's name. And I had no idea that they priced books at $25. So I went on an anti-buying spree into my readers and said, do not buy these books. They're $25. This is stupid. I wouldn't even buy the darn book for $25. And so I refused to promote those books. I wrote the ones that I had on contract, and I just refused to do that. I think that's ridiculous. And
wow.
So I just let those, I don't promote those books. I'm like, so isn't that terrible? And I
think it's great. I think that's fantastic of you.
It's terrible to say, but I am not going to do that to my readers. I'm like, that is ridiculous. Yeah. I would never ask you to pay for $25 for a book. Oh my God. I mean, ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. I don't care who wrote it. And I don't care if it's I just probably don't love print books that much. But the point is that I was so mad at that. And I'm still mad at that. And so I just said, even they put me in a book club. They put me in that Harlequin book club with the books a couple of years back. And I'm like, fine, whatever, do what you want to do. I just get so mad about it. But those books were like, they wanted 80,000 words of fluff. And I just was like, this is also ridiculous. And I didn't have a good taste in my mouth with that. So and I continue to self-publish. But again, when you're writing 50 to 60,000 word cozy mysteries, you can pop those out pretty quickly if you use Tanya's formula. I stay 3 books ahead, and I do take breaks every month for like a week or so if I can. It's very hard for me not to work, because what else would I do up here?
You write a book, so that means you're writing a book in 3 weeks?
I can write a book in 2 weeks. Yeah. But I mean, that's just the first draft. But I have an editing service. They go through 4 rounds of drafts. Then it goes to my ARC team, which goes through a round of edits with them before anything comes to pass. And so I'm sure y'all found plenty of mistakes in the books, but that don't bother me none either.
I didn't notice anything. Tanya, are you going to get the rights back to those Crooked Lean books, do you think?
No. I don't even want to try. It's not even worth it. Yeah. Not even worth my time. Yeah. So isn't that terrible?
Well,
So
should I hold up my $25 80,000 word book?
Is that what you have? Does it say $25? Oh my gosh, I have one too. Let's just compare. I mean, I get so mad. I do. I mean, seriously. $25. I'm like, really?
Yeah, and both of them.
Forget it. Oh, I got two of them too. Here's another one. Yeah. I'm so mad. I do. I get so mad, but it's okay. It's all right.
Well, people are just paying so much money for special edition books right now. They just love anything that's like a special edition, and readers will pay crazy money for. You make a limited edition, you make something fun.
Oh yeah.
Spray dishes.
Oh yeah, I got those too.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
And that's for my camper series. But I have a Patreon group, and I have a few thousand members in there, and we're very active in there. So they get all the special stuff. I don't sell them on my website or anything like that. And so, those are special editions. I do book boxes every quarter for them. And so that's also a lot of fun. So they get those things. So, yeah.
So
when do you sleep?
I know.
I go to bed at 9:30 and I get up at 5. I drink a lot of coffee because I love it.
So when you're writing all these books, are you writing like a whole series, then finishing it? Or are you jumping from series to series as you're doing it? Or, okay.
Mm-hmm. So I actively have 4 ongoing series.
4 ongoing.
They're very popular for my people, my friends. I call them my friends. And so I will. Now, when I first started writing the camper series and saw where it was going, then I buckled down and I wrote like 3 in a row because I knew that it was kind of writing to my market. They just were devouring those. And so when that kind of went viral on the TikTok and Instagrams that said it was like Schitt's Creek in a campground, then I'm like, oh, I'm all the way home. And so, people had just devoured them. And in cozies, a lot of cozy readers, my cozy readers were in that 45 to death group. And so now they've all like shifted. That's the truth. And who wants to pay $25 when you're 90? Nobody.
Yeah.
During COVID, I saw people moving back in with their parents, boys, girls, all of them were moving back in and they started exchanging books. So I have a lot of male readers, a lot of female readers that are now skewed in their 20s and 30s because they started reading the books. And so then they started picking up all the other books. And I'm in KU. I'm all in KU. I am dug in KU. I love KU. And so every time I see a Prime airplane, because up here in Northern Kentucky, we have a huge Prime hub. And I always yell, go, when I see them pass over me. And so, I have found a good niche at Prime, but also as a business person, I also have my audio. I also have my Patreon. I also, do a lot of I have my own foreign rights. I do all these other sources of income. So if something ever went south with the KU, I have no problem pivoting because I have other incomes that would, suffice that. So I know people.
So are you really hands-on with your audiobooks? Do you, pick the people who read and?
Do I pick the narrators? Yes. So, for instance, I do I don't have all my audio in one basket. Like Dreamscape has this series. Then I have Tantor has my camper series, because I was able to pick my narrator for them. And I knew I wanted this specific narrator, just like I knew I wanted the specific narrator for this one. And so then I handpicked the other. I have my coffee series, the Killer Coffee series, which is also super popular. That would be my second most popular series. So I do all those with another narrator, as well as a spinoff from the camper series with another narrator. And those go everywhere. We put them up on Find a Way to go everywhere. We put them up on Kobo exclusive, on Audible, and then also have them up for free on YouTube, because that's another source of income that I pull in.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's a whole business.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I didn't know you could do books for free on YouTube.
How big is your staff?
Yeah.
Me and Eddie and Rowena. And so I was like, where is she? She is worked herself so hard to the bone. Y'all can tell. This is how I treat my readers. I Zoom with my readers 3 times a month, and I go live every week on Facebook. You can tell, I just kind of walk around to do my thing. You can tell I'm not really good.
It's super entertaining. I love it. Just keep going.
Interviews, as you can see. But yeah. So
your staff is you and Eddie? You don't even have an assistant?
No, well, I have one assistant that does my ARC team, and all I do is put the ARC. I put the ARC up on Book Funnel and say the Book Funnel is on the ARC team. And then in order to be on my ARC team, we have tasks. So they have to take a picture with the book, so I can use it on social media, and then they read it, and then they put up the review on Goodreads before the book comes out, and I use those reviews to make any kind of social media posts or anything that I need to do. I'm sorry, Rowena, we woke her up. So anything that she's fine. Anything that we need to do to help promote the book or afterwards, and so they just have some, and they have to put it on like their Goodreads bookshelf and things like that. But that's all that I use her for, is to distribute those and to take, because I would be like, if somebody said to me, oh, I couldn't get to the book this month, I'd be like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And it's fine. Or, I stubbed my toe, so I couldn't read the book. Oh, it's all right. And I would be like that, but she's not like that. And so that's why I had to, because I would be the worst landlord in the world, right. Because I would let them slide. And so, but that's the only reason that I have somebody to take care of that, because I'm not good at that. I'm not good at being mean.
That's a great idea to have, you have to take a picture with the book. Oh, I like that idea.
Still away. It's, but that's the thing. And so I have 100 people that have their picture with the book before the book even comes out. They're like, oh my gosh, look, Abbie is enjoying her copy of Grave as All Get Out. So when you all go and you said, tell us about the book, I'm like, oh, I wrote this book like 6 months ago. I don't even remember what it was about.
What book?
Other series down the road. But I quickly remembered. But so they and then they will also give good quotes to use. And then sometimes if I'm feeling like really, my husband loves to watch MASH at 7:00 every night. So if I'm like really tired of watching that episode, even though we have them all on DVD, though we wouldn't watch DVD anymore, but I'm so sick of it, then sometimes I might make Abbie's little face with the picture and her quote, and I send it back to them, because anything like that they love. So I know that they're going to use it, so, but they have to promote the book on release day. So yeah,
that's really cool. So,
go ahead, Diane.
I was just going to ask, what inspired you to get a Patreon?
So back in COVID, we had bought this property, which was actually, okay, I don't know how long y'all got, but I got all day. But it was actually a big, huge mansion dome house, like 10,000 square foot dome house, which you can't even insure a dome house in Kentucky. So I'm like, no. So anyways, so we bought the property before COVID. And so what happened was that it was purchased by people that won the $69 million Powerball in Kentucky. But 3 people died up here. She died up here. There's a whole New York Times article on it. Her dogs ate her face because they were in the mansion because people did a well check on her. Because again, 145 acres of woods. If you do not see me on a live every week, you know something's wrong. Call the police. Call the sheriff. So anyways, what happened was that 3 people died up here. She was the first. But there's a whole nother thing. Even the best part, as a mystery author, there's a whole pond up here. And in one of my camper series, like she actually gets to the campground because she gets this campground by chance, and she falls in the water, and all of a sudden the dead person bubbles up. Her ex-husband. So the campground series, when I first came up here, I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks like the campground, because what happens is that it's kind of like the Ponzi scheme of Bernie Madoff. What happened to his wife? We don't know. We don't know whatever happened to her. So I said, oh my gosh, what if we threw Mae West is her name, because I love Mae West. But anyways, we threw her in a camper. She was the Bernie Madoff wife. But she had a campground in Kentucky deeded to her that she had no idea was in her name. So she's like, I am going to sell that campground and get my life back in New York City. So she gets down here, and she's standing on the pier in the book, and a big black car comes, barreling up this gravel road. And he was like, are you Mae West? And, I'm going to look in your camper. She has this camper that she's driving that was a Maserati. She used to have a Maserati. Now she's got this janky camper RV. And so she's standing on the pier looking at this mucky water. And she said, you better find the SOB before I do, because I'm going to kill him. And they said, are you sure? Because he escaped prison. And so what happened was that she falls in, and then he bubbles up to the top. So there is a pond here. And so, I said to my readers, I'm scanning, what does this look like? And they're like, oh my gosh, it looks like Mae West, because I'm on this little pier out here. But I have a pedal boat now. We have so much fun out there, me and the readers. But anyways, and so I bought this house and the property because we're going to tear it down. But the people, since she was dead, her 2 brothers and her father had been in prison in Houston, federal prison, because they were running drugs in their engines of their car across the border. So they were in prison this whole time. So she had $10 million left. And so her brothers had gotten this money. And they were still living. They had this house. And so I bought it before COVID, and they said, oh, I can't wait for you to see the rehab of the house. And I said, I'm tearing it down. I mean, I literally saw for a second their hand go over to tear up the contract, because they were like, well, you can't tear down that house. And I'm like, totally tearing down that mansion. And so we tore it down, and then COVID hit, and then the building stopped. So I'll always come back to the question. I'm a squirrel. But I got your question.
No, I'm. You got me the whole way. Go.
Yeah, the grim side of reality, the grim side of the lottery is the New York Times article. That's what it's called. So Google it and you'll find it, and you'll see the dome house. But anyway, so what happened was that I had gotten an apartment because I'm like, oh, this is going to take 6 weeks or something to get over, right? Oh, it's going to be a month. It's going to be, that. So my husband and I said, well, we'll just get an apartment, because I'd sold my house. And so we got an apartment close to the build. And then the 6 months was going to turn into, well, we don't know how long it's going to be. And I'm like, I can't live here. Well, my sister lives here as well. And she is also empty nest. So I'm like, I am not going to, I was in an apartment where it's local college kids. And so, at 3:00 in the morning, you would see the headlights come in through the window, and I'd be like, because they didn't care it was COVID. They didn't care nothing. I'm like, oh my gosh, they just partying it up. I'm like, I am getting out of here. And so I had a key to my sister's house, and they were gone out of town, but they have those Ring camera things. And so the next morning I got up and I said, load the truck up. We're moving in with Tracy. And my husband's like, what? I'm like, I can't work here. I can't sleep here. We got to go. And so we showed up at my sister's house, and I had my key, and I hear her come up on the Ring camera. She was like, what are you doing? I go, I'm moving in. She's like, woohoo, we're on our way home. And so we moved in with my sister for 2 years, but my years. Oh my God, it was great. It was till COVID was over. We couldn't get the house built. And so it took 2 years to build this little tiny house that I live in. I mean, tiny house. And so what happened was that my niece moved back in from college. She had gone, it was at Lexington, at the University of Kentucky, and she loved like BTS and all these rock groups and stuff. And so she started watching them on Patreon. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, there's this thing called Patreon. And she's showing me this thing. And I went, huh. And so I had already been doing what I called 60 days of community on my Facebook page. So every day I posted something like, what are you watching on TV? What are you binge watching during this time? Because my readers were just craving community. But if you wanted to respond, then the rules of the community were that you had to respond to 3 people to get to know each other, to build a community on Facebook. And I don't have a group. I don't have a personal page. I just have my author page. And so I said, the 3 weeks, or you have to respond to 3 people. So they started getting to know each other. And I saw this happening. And then the 60 days turned into another 60 days. And then that turned into another 60 days. And so I'm like, and people are like, I wish we could donate. We were saying things that need to be donated. I was like, I bought all these gift cards from my hair salon. So when it came up, so she didn't have to go under. So when they did get back up and running, I could use the gift cards. We were trying to do things locally, and people were trying to think of things to donate on our feed. And so my niece was still watching this. And I thought, I could start like a $1 tier, and I could do like a $5 tier, but we'll donate every month to a charity with the money. So I sold it to them like that. I said, hey, let's do this. Let's get off Facebook. Because at the time, people were like, oh, Facebook is going to go under. It didn't matter if it's COVID. I'm like, whatever. So, and even though I don't really own my space on Patreon, it could go under too. I thought, you know what? We can donate the money. And so you guys pick. So, so for the past 4 years, October, we have donated thousands upon thousands of dollars. It has grown. I have now a $1 tier, which the $1 tier gets you. So I send out about 3,000 to 5,000 birthday cards a month to readers. And so it gets you, don't ask. It gets you another, but it's ridiculous. So it gets you, I know.
Love it.
It's ridiculous.
Joining. You got me.
And so, but if you're on Patreon, then you get Rowena and Eddie. They love Eddie. And if I'm not home doing something, like I always do like a morning shot of my coffee. If I'm not here, he'll do it, and it's a video, and he'll say, yep, the sun still rises when Tanya's not here. Like, he thinks he's so funny. So he kind of takes over and does my thing, and he'll write my newsletter, and they love all that. But if you met him, he's the shyest thing ever. Jenny, I was gonna call you Jeannie. Jenny met him. I'm like, oh, Eddie will do it. I was volunteering. Eddie will do it. He's like, okay.
We were at a readers thing, and we had these hundreds of little bags to stuff. And if I would have known that Eddie was going to do it, I wouldn't have stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning.
I'm doing way more than 100 little things. I mean, he's doing these birthday cards. I've got my one little guy. In my little town here, I have a post office. It's the size of my table. And he'll say, Tanya, you got some mail in your box. And then he'll say, I'll go get it. And he'll get it. And then I bring in my big stack of my cards. I'm like, oh, I need to get like so many, because I get so many rolls of these postcard stamps. So he'll sit out there with me, my little post guy, put them on, the stamps on with me. I mean, him and Eddie are sitting there always putting them on. But anyways, and so for the $1 tier, all your money goes towards the charity, which was like, I don't know, like 70 something cents after Patreon takes their fee. And then they get to name a charity. Like we all vote, we all get going on. We've done local charities to huge charities. Like yesterday was the 5th. Oh my gosh. See, I don't even know the day, but every month it's on the 2nd that we give. So we gave this year to a reader friend that her son had committed suicide. So it's National Suicide Month. So we have donated all the money for that to Suicide Month, to this charity of her choice. And so then the $1 tier, you get the Zoom. We have book club. So they get to choose the book. I don't choose the book. So they get to choose the book. So we have one book club a month. And then the $1 tier also gets you the handwritten card for Eddie and I. But then all the tiers go up to $50 is now the book boxes. And so on the $25 tier, they get all the print books and the ebooks. And then I'm like, oh, that's just not enough for them. Now they need a daily serial. So I started writing the spinoff just for them that then became Vella.
Oh.
Because you could put it on Vella. That's because Amazon had come to me and they said, oh, we're going to do this thing. We know you write a daily serial. Are you interested in doing this Vella? And I said, oh, yeah, I'll do it. And they're like, oh, but you can't put it up on your Patreon. I'm like, oh, no, I'm out because they are mean more to me than Vella. So then they came back like a month later, said, no, we'll let you put it up on Vella, but you have to keep it up for a month before we let you put it on KU. And so I'm like, oh, I'll have way more than that. So not only am I giving it to the Patreons, which they want to join because they are getting this, but also I write it as I'm writing it. I don't even plot it. And so it's not even really the same version of the finished version because I'm like, oh, I need to go back and plant that clue, or I need to go back and plant this, but they don't care. They just love it. And so then I put it in Vella. So I've got on Patreon, which is for those readers, which is a source of income. Then I put it on Vella, which is another source of income. And then it goes on KU after that. So that's another source of income because it stays on Vella and KU at the same time. But if you join my Patreon, you now get over 2,900 posts, and they're all labeled so you can see which ones you want to pick, like which series you love. So when they get on, like if someone was to join today, they could spend the next month just going back and looking at all the things. Like it's all exclusive to them. Like there's knitting patterns. I have a lady that does all my books in a cross stitch pattern. So I have a lot of cross stitchers.
Oh my God.
So all the covers.
That is so much fun.
It was blessed. We had way they love to color. And also Patreon has its own little community, like text messaging kind of thing. I have like a DM or like a messaging, like Messenger. So they all get in there and they can post all their pictures. And we love up on each other. We have coming up, we have Halloween. We have a Zoom Halloween party. We have 2 Zooms a month and just chatting like we're doing. Like we just jump on, it's open. You go and do that thing. A halftime.
That is so much fun. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. It sounds like an absolute ball. Yeah. And you're so much fun.
I'm not. But I put my hair up in a dilly wop. I don't have makeup on. Like y'all lucky got lipstick on. My mama watches this and I had no lipstick on. She'd been texting me.
How do you do this without a staff? That's what I don't. How do you do this all without a staff, without help?
Yes.
Well, I'm just OCD. I don't know. Maybe I probably got something wrong with me, and I ain't been diagnosed.
It's the good kind of wrong.
Well, the good kind of wrong. You can have that kind of wrong.
But I love them. My purpose, like I was never meant to be a writer. I truly was never meant to be a writer. I was depressed. I would never been a depressed person, and I went to the doctor. I had gotten divorced. That's what happened, and my son had to go see his dad every other weekend, and it just took me out. And so I was in my 20s, and I was teaching, and I went to the doctor. I'm like, you've got to give me medication. And she's like, you need a hobby. I'm like, no, I need medication. She's like, no, you need a hobby. So I was at my dermatologist, and he's like, oh, my wife is like picking on me. He goes, oh, she owns a knitting shop. She has classes. That's what you should do. I'm like, okay, well, if I could have killed his wife with those knitting needles, I would have. It was the worst thing I'd ever done in my life. So I went back to my doctor and I said, I tried a hobby. I need medicine. And so she's like, no, you need to try a hobby. So what did I know was going back to college to get a master's in child therapy. So I did that, but all the kids and they were at that point, I was like 30 and they were way younger than me. And so this one girl said, oh, we have this book club. And I went, God, stab me. And she said, we have wine and chocolate, and we could have it on the nights your son's at his dad's. And I go, what time's that book club? And so I went, and it took me 6 months to pick up that Jane. They picked a Jane Porter book, and that's how I got that book. And I picked it up finally. I bought the book at Walden's. I don't even have those anymore. Do y'all remember Walden's?
Yeah.
I picked up the book on the 6th month that I was a member. That was the book they picked. And it was Sunday. And I remember just picking up that book, and Jack was coming home that night. And I literally felt like I'd been reading for like 20 minutes and had gotten lost in this book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, when the doorbell rang, I was like, I can't believe it's hours.
That is so great.
Yeah. And I mean, I just get chill bumps still thinking about it. And
I got chills. Yeah.
And so I just, so book club, I continue to have book club with these ladies, and 4 kids later, remarried. We were having some riots in Cincinnati, which is really a stone's throw away. And so I had gone to Walden's again and picked up a stack of books, because if you hosted book club, you got to pick the next book. And so my husband was like, you do know we're feeding a family of 6, right? And he's an electrician. I was a teacher. So we, at the time, we're just like scraping by these 4 boys that eat a lot. And I'm like, yeah, and I bought 6 books. He's like, oh my gosh, you can't keep buying all these books. I'm like, I don't know which one to pick. I'm buying all the books. I love books. I love books. And so he picked one up, and he said, you could write, you can tell a story better than this is written. And he's not a reader, but he was reading like, what is she buying? And so then that night at book club, we were talking about a fond memory I had with one of the riot sites. And it's a funny memory. And they were laughing. They're like, oh my gosh, Tanya, that'd be so funny in a book. 2 people, with that short period of time that would say that, gets us our creative minds. And I'm already creative, right? I played the piano. I was a teacher. I was always doing all the fun stuff with the kids. We didn't want to read, but we did that, had to. But anyways, and so the next day I went to Walden's again and bought a beautiful notebook. And my kids 2 of my boys were in Pee Wee football. And you had to stay because they might want a snack. They might have to pee, and the coaches weren't going to do that. And I got hurt, or my one just play in the dirt. And so I started writing my very first book under an oak tree at their football practice, and never looked back. I love being a therapist, and still keep in touch with a lot of those families today. They show up at a lot of things, which is a lot of fun.
That's so funny, Tanya. I wrote my first book at soccer practice and hockey practice.
Yeah.
Just waiting for them to get their skates on.
And so, and I finally said, Eddie was like, it was hard getting all my books written because I was doing therapy full time. I worked for myself there, and as well, I had my own practice. And so, finally we just said, let's just, if you're going to want to do this, let's just do it. But I keep up my certification in case the book gig goes south. But it was the Patreon. So I started the Patreon because I was looking for a community to get in with my readers. And so we have found that community, and it's so great. Like right now, we're all waiting for one of our people. Her dog is having puppies today. We have been waiting for these puppies. And we're all exciting. All the DMs. And she's like, any minute. And so, it's so much fun. And then, like I said, we do 2 chats like we're doing now a week. Sometimes they're an hour, sometimes there's 2 hours. Usually they're longer, but, and they can stay on and I pop off, but they stay on and they chat and they hang out. I think 3 of my people will be their first time at my train event this year. And so they're excited about getting to hang out with each other in person and not just by Zoom. But we have a good time, and every week I answer a reader question on Facebook. So if they're not in Patreon, it's okay. They get enough of me outside of that. But Patreon is just a very special place to be. So I heard a ring.
Well, I'm going to check it out. I appreciate you introducing me so fully to this. I'm really excited about it. So I love the way you tell a story, like not just in a book, but just present, listening to you, because you wander, but you get back full circle. You come full circle. I love it.
The clock is going off right now, which reminded me. So one of my readers, one of my Patreon friends, so my cuckoo clock here. So she's like, you need a squirrel for your cuckoo clock. So she bought me a squirrel because I always say squirrel, because I always come back around. I always come back around to answer the question. But, I know we were here to talk about the book, but I always like to. Oh, sorry, that was my grateful. I always make a grateful note every day. My thing goes off at 4 o'clock.
That's so sweet.
But anyways, so I just want my readers to feel like I felt when Jane Porter was with me at my house. That's it.
Connection.
That's
Connection.
all. And it's not about how many books I write. It's not for me how many. It's just connecting with that one reader, and that's all I care about. And so that's kind of how the birthday cards got started. I'm like, oh, I love my birthday, and so I celebrated for the full month. So I just started.
I do the same thing. We're like the same person, Tanya.
I love my birthday. It's a whole month celebration. And so, and so what happened is that I said, oh, I love birthdays. And I just started years ago saying, fill out this birthday form and I'll send you a birthday card. And it's just taken off, and every month it grows and people love it. And I get a lot
of the sweetest thing ever. I love that. I'm seriously going to check out your Patreon. You're going to see me.
Well, those you don't have to be
excited about it.
The special ones you do. But the thing is I get a lot of emails that'll say that's the only one I'll get this year. Or this is the one, and that's heartbreaking. I'm like, if I could just give them, I don't care if they buy the books. I don't even know if it says TanyaKappes.com on them at this point. I think they're just cute little postcards. But I don't promote my books. I just say, happy birthday to you, and cheers to a wonderful month or whatever, and sign it. Because it's not about them buying my book. It's about them, feeling it. At one point they did buy a book, and that's okay.
Right.
And so,
I mean, inspiration for writing is about that connection. It is about reaching out. And
that's all I care about.
You've gone 100%. I think that's fantastic. I love it.
It's ridiculous, probably, but
well, everyone wants.
No, it's wonderful. And it's been so joyful having you here. I wish we did have hours and hours to chat with you, because you're so easy to talk to.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Look at my hair.
Well, thank you for joining us. We have to have you back, because my God, this is the fun. This is the funnest. Yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna say goodbye to Tanya.
Bye, Tanya. Thank you
so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye. And we are going to talk about our next month in the book club. So for the next month, we are doing something special. We're doing all of us. So all of us authors are going to be featured in the book club next month. And 3 of us are offering free books, freebies, and the links are in the book club. So look for them today. Or if you're on our newsletters, you get our newsletters, the links are in there too. So, and all 4 of us will be chatting at the end of the month, interviewing each other. So it should be an absolute hoot.
It's going to be fun.
So, looking forward to it.
And don't forget, we also have Fall Into a Book giveaway happening on the 19th. Us 4 will be doing our special giveaways, and they're always fun and special. Like, it's the pregame show. And then on the 20th and 21st, 350 authors are all going to pop in and give away books, gift cards, and swag. So make sure you have your calendars marked. You take a vacation day, you call in sick, whatever you got to do.
And read Abbie's directions.
Yes,
yeah.
And
hydrate.
Hydrate. And we're putting pro tips in periodically every couple days for you readers to just kind of like keep out of Facebook jail, because Facebook jail is real and we don't want you there. So pay attention to the pro tips, and we'll put them in the featured post too if you just want to go back and like check them all out. But the 20th and 21st is when all the authors show up, and it's going to be wild and fun like it always is.
And if you see lots of promo posts from us ahead of time, we try to warm up the algorithm so that Facebook doesn't get all weird.
Facebook gets weird no matter what we do.
But we'll be there to help. Anybody who has a problem, we'll be there to help. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys.
Can't wait.
And at the end of the month. So thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye, everyone.